Welcome to Beast Over Burden, powered by Barbell Logic. It's me, Nikki, strength coach, nutrition coach, and chief experience officer at Barbell Logic. And here with me, as always, is Andrew Jackson. What's up?
Grumpy Pants McGee.
Grumpy Pants McGee. He's not grumpy.
Okay. Let's talk about this episode that we're about to listen to from 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's 3 years ago now at this point, I think. Yeah, this was one with me and Matt back in the day.
Dang.
Not so much Dream Team. The Dream Team was Scott and Matt.
Disagree.
Disagree. So this one I love. You might have some gift cards that will come in handy as we talk about helpful strength gear that solves problems. And we are going to go through a lot. We've got adjustable dumbbells to talk through, pulley system. Is a deadlift bar worth it? What about a slingshot? How about some wrist wraps or wrist straps? So we're going to talk, Matt and I are going to chat through that, talk about our favorites, why you might need them, other considerations in your gym. And I think this will be a good one because building at your gym is a blasty.
And if you just got some of this equipment, I think you guys also talk about
yes. Mm-hmm.
how to use it, where you might want to incorporate it into your training. So great episode. Give it a listen.
Yes. All right. See you next time.
Yeehaw.
You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. Hey, welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. I'm Matt Reynolds. This is Nikki Sims. Wearing our sweet new beanie.
So
Looks
warm.
Great.
So warm.
With the sweet Barbell Logic logo leathered patch on the front, which is pretty cool.
I highly recommend them. They are available on the store right now.
That's right.
You too can be cool and yet warm.
Love it. So what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about problem-solving equipment, which is really kind of stuff you need beyond the barbell and the bench and a squat rack. Stuff that can make your training a little more complex than it needs to be, or when you're working through an injury, or when you just have $5,000 burning a hole in your pocket and you need to put it somewhere. Stuff
because
that
everybody's
actually,
like that right now in the recession.
Yeah, that's the best way to spend your money right now.
That's right. Although it is the holiday season. Happy holidays to you, Miss Sims.
Yeah, you too.
And so this is also great for gift giving guide type stuff, for things to put on your Christmas list, as well as things to purchase for other people. So
yeah.
We've talked about equipment before, basic lifting equipment, as well as the things that everybody should have, like shoes, squat shoes, and belts, things like that, fractional plates, the kind of things that really everybody needs to have. This is really the next step down the line. Like, what kind of equipment do we use to help address problems, or that just makes our life easier, or maybe just more enjoyable in the gym? And so we're going to tackle that today. So I think what we'll do is a little back and forth. I almost thought about doing this like a draft, like if we, like the NFL draft or NBA draft, and we'll draft equipment. And so, but
That's
what we'll
brilliant.
do is I'll throw it to you first. What is a piece of equipment or something that you use in the gym that maybe not everybody knows about or has that makes your life easier that you love?
Man, 100% without a doubt, monolift attachment.
Yeah.
I freaking love that. I actually got them as a gift, and I love them because I can bench heavy without needing a lift off. And so I don't know if you all know how these work, but they're like these arms that swing out. And when the bar's loaded, the weight kind of swings out and you can position yourself right underneath it. So like instead of setting yourself up when you're benching with your eyeballs underneath the bar, you set up with your shoulders underneath the bar, which means you're instantly in your lockout position. So you don't have to deal with that reach back or have to do a butt lift or anything. You just get like perfectly set underneath the bar. So it's great when you're benching heavy and you don't have someone to give you a lift off.
And then when you lift it out of the rack, those J-hooks, those extended J-hooks then swing out of the way. So they don't stay over your shoulder. They then swing back kind of over your eyes. So you only have to get it back into the rack. It's very easy to get it out of the rack, which is really cool.
They're the best. And honestly, that's like the kind of lifestyle perk of it. But also if you have shoulder issues, I've had a lot of situations where people's shoulder issues kind of start to go away once they start using the monolift attachment. You have them, right?
I do. I also got them as a gift from a client and love them. You know, they attach in any major, just any normal kind of rack at this point from any of the major equipment manufacturers. Rogue is the one I have. It's the primary one that's on the market. I think there are a few others on the market. I know the other fitness companies are working to come out with those. I think you've got the same one I do with it. It has kind of the longer weighted piece that sticks out horizontally. It's the one part of this I don't like is there has to be a counterbalance to be able to rotate that J-hook out of the way. And so that counterbalance piece, I don't know what it's probably 10 inches long, 10, 12 inches long, something like that. And
it's
so
4 inches. I'm just kidding.
Huh? That's right. So she said. So I have run into mine numerous times. I've run my head into it numerous times. With bald head, that's not an easy thing to hide when you're running in.
Beanie.
That's right. The newer ones, I believe from Rogue, actually have more like a heavy steel ball at the end or iron.
Oh, that's way better.
So they don't extend as far. And also they don't knock your head off or cut your head when you hit them. So I think most of the newer ones are like that. But I agree. I do all my squats with the monolift. And a lot of people don't like it as much with the squat. And I do that. I squat inside the rack. I'm set up. I mostly do box squats. Monoliths were originally invented, I think, by Louis and Westside or that crew.
Yeah.
And, somebody will correct me on that. Maybe it was Sordex or somebody who invented it for them. But they were really the ones that made this popular. And it was because they were squatting such heavy weights and often with hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds of band tension. You can imagine how dangerous it is to walk back a weight with lots of band tension. And then all the big powerlifting meets, the kind of geared powerlifting and non-drug tested powerlifting meets went to these because you had these guys that were on both types of gear, as we would say. And so they might have 11 or 1,200 pounds on the bar, and that's a lot to walk backwards with.
Yeah,
and
we're not going to talk about that kind of gear on this
That's
episode.
Right. No, that's not going to be on the list, the wish list. Unless you're like a 55 or older male, then maybe it should be on your wish list. So, no, they would, it makes it easier because you can, on a squat, you can just stand up and rather than ever walk back, the J-hooks swing out of the way, then you squat. Now, if you've never done that before, there's a little bit of a learning curve. As a matter of fact, I still stand up and take 2 kind of little bitty steps back and position my feet and then I squat. But like you said, especially for the bench press, for people who bench press alone and don't have a lift-off person, they are fantastic. So those monolift attachments, and it used to be, those attachments didn't exist for many years. You had to buy a monolift, which was typically between $4,000 and $5,000. And it was like the only thing you could do, and it was squatting the thing.
Yep.
And so at Strong Gym, we had 2 monolifts, and a whole bunch of squat racks, and the monolifts just take up this huge footprint, and all you could do is squat. Now they've got these great little attachments that go in. They're like a big, heavy J-hook. Yeah. Right? Just bigger than a normal J-hook. By the way, a little teaser, which I'll just add to this, is that Rogue, as well as some of the other equipment manufacturers, make a wall hanger for their dip station, what they call the Matador. And I have purchased multiples of those wall hangers, and I can I can set my monolift attachments hanging up on the wall because they're kind of big. And so if you're not using them, it's like, what do you do with them? What do you put them? Just kind of lean them into the corner. It's really nice to be able to just hang them directly on the wall. I've done the same thing. I use that for my safeties as well. So that's kind of another thing that I love to use. Anything else on that monolift? We love them.
I've also used them for RDLs, which is kind of nice.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. I've never done that, but that's a really smart idea.
I like it.
Get out of the way because a real heavy RDL, which starts from the top, you typically stand up, have to walk backwards, which is, probably not optimal. And then, that's right. A little easier to walk forward a couple inches and put it back in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, what's yours?
I would go with, I don't know that. I would hesitate to say that this is an advanced piece. I'd make jokes that you should buy this before you buy a bench, and that would be a deadlift jack. And I'm talking about a two-arm deadlift jack. That one-arm deadlift. So if I trained at a public gym, I would have the one-arm deadlift jack. And there is one I think called the Genesis jack, which is made from aluminum. And I think Rogue now has the ability to sell those. And so we actually met the guy in Phoenix that makes it. I don't remember his name. I apologize. But it's really light. And so if you're training at a public gym, you can throw that in your gym bag and you can jack up one side of the barbell per side. I love, especially if you have a training partner or if you're a coach and you're training people in person, you should always have the 2-sided deadlift jack. One, because it's so much easier to put the weights on and off. But 2, you can train your training partner and or client to do one side while you do the other side, right? So I don't care how much they're paying me per hour. If we're loading a 405 on the bar, I'll do the right side, you do the left side, and it just makes it so much easier. So those deadlift jacks now almost always fit inside the rack, which is really nice. So you can deadlift inside your rack if you need to. To me, I would almost put that in. If you have a home gym, that should be one of the very first things you purchase outside of the absolute basics. And I do joke about it. Like, obviously, it's not as important as a rack or a barbell or bench or weights, but that would be the very first purchase I would make after those initial pieces.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Deadlift jack.
Yeah. If you go in a public gym, like you were saying, the little guys, what is it, the Genesis or Dominion has little
wedges.
Deadlift wedges. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the dead wedge is the one that I have, which is just like you roll it under one side, but 100% agree. Yeah. Okay. Next one. I've really been craving adjustable dumbbells lately.
I have a pair. I love them.
Yeah. Like when you get to the point where you really want to do a lot more kind of hypertrophy work and bro work and isolation, like I have a membership to a 24-hour fitness, but I sure would love if I didn't have to go there to use the dumbbells and could just have a set of adjustable dumbbells instead, because it doesn't take up a lot of floor space. It's way cheaper than getting a full set of dumbbells, and you can really load in like a huge range. Like the ones I've used are the microplates dumbbells.
Yep.
And you just have like the empty, tiny little barbell looking things. And then you can even get the micro gains.
Yep.
Yeah. They have like 10s, 5s, 2.5s, and then the little ones. So it's like infinitely loadable. And I like the length of their adjustable dumbbells too. I think the Rogue ones can kind of be like a little bit kind of long. So you like bump into yourself with their dumbbells. Yep. But yeah, definitely recommend those.
I like that idea. First off, let's be clear. It is not space or price efficient to have an old school set of hex dumbbells in your home. They're crazy expensive. We're talking about $6,000-$7,000, right? They cost a ton, tons of weight per pound. And then every time, if you look at the price of like a set of 75-pound dumbbells, and then a set of, if you skip the 80s and go right to 85s and then 95s, or if you go 70, 80, 90, 100, I mean, you'll spend $1,500 on those last 4. And so they're very, very expensive to get those. Certainly, big global gyms have those. We had them at Strong. For a long time, I was using adjustable dumbbells. I will say that now that Microgains have come out with their steel smaller plates, like the 10-pound plates that are steel.
Yep.
I'll get this wrong, but I think they're like 3/8 of an inch wide. I mean, they're really narrow. You can load up very heavy adjustable good dumbbell handles with a good collar, and you can make nice heavy dumbbells adjustable, nice and easy. I finally pulled the trigger a couple years ago on a set of Power Block Pros. They go up to 90 pounds, which is good enough for pretty much all the stuff I'm going to press. Theoretically, I need a little heavier for like croc rows or something, but it doesn't take up any space. I can go from 10 pounds to 90 pounds very quickly. And Titan has just started making a dumbbell spotter attachment. So similar to the way that Monolift would attach. I actually have a couple clients that got it. Michael Wolf, you guys know him. He has a set from a company that doesn't make them anymore, and they were like brutally expensive. I mean, he spent like $400 on them. And I think the ones from Titan are like $159 or something. And so for those of you that want to do heavy dumbbell presses, like bench presses, something that requires you to get the dumbbell either over your chest or over your shoulders, it's very difficult if they're really heavy. You got to really swing them into place. I was just trying
to do that this morning, actually. Yeah.
So
I had to limit the weight just because I was like sketched out about trying to pick it up.
That's right. Yeah. And so now Titan has some, and I'm sure, again, as soon as one company comes out with one of these, the other companies will start to learn how to compete. They buy them, they sketch them up. They're like, how can we improve on this design? This is what I love about competition and capitalism. And so they'll get better. And so, but I do have a couple clients that have those, and they're actually really nice. So if you want a dumbbell bench or press heavy, those spotters from Titan are pretty good. And again, I should say, we don't have a relationship really with any client. So I think Rep Fitness has done a little bit of sponsorship for us, obviously Microgains and Dominion. But as we talk through all of these, we don't have any sort of relationships. We're not getting kickbacks or any of this sort of stuff. I've never had a relationship with Rogue, and almost everything in my gym is Rogue, just because it's high quality gear and I've used it for years. There are certainly some of the other companies like Rep and Fringe and even Titan have done a really good job the last few years. I'm very happy. I've got pieces of equipment from all of those companies, but we're just telling you what we use and what we love. So, okay, so you did adjustable dumbbells. I talked about the spotters for those. So I see some bars on our list. My favorite bar, you know what my favorite bar is? It's not a trick question.
The deadlift bar?
Okay, the deadlift bar is amazing. That is true. I was going to go with axle. A deadlift bar.
Yes.
A deadlift bar I might buy first before the axle. So a deadlift bar, if you deadlift heavy, and again, there's a bunch of good deadlift bars out there. My favorite ones are the Ohio deadlift bar from Rogue or the Texas deadlift bar, who I don't know who makes that anymore. I don't know if it's actually Buddy Cap or it used to be Ricky Del Crane in Oklahoma, but you can still get your hands on both those Texas deadlift bar. They're 27 millimeters, so they're smaller, another millimeter smaller around, easier to hold on to, big knurl. And so I really do like that deadlift bar. It takes a little time to get used to. It's a little bit longer. It's got a little more whip, reduces the range of motion just a little bit. I wouldn't train with it all the time. Certainly wouldn't do all my deadlifts with it. I wouldn't do things like RDLs or rack pulls or things.
Yeah.
Yep. Rows, things like that with it. But yeah, just the other one that I love is the axle. I love an axle for overhead pressing and bench pressing. It's a cheap bar. It's really like a nice piece of Schedule 80 pipe. It's probably the cheapest bar you can buy. And it just displaces the force across your hand and wrist and forearms a little better. And so if you tend to get a lot of tendonitis from the elbow to the hand or elbow through the wrist and in the hand, I really like an axle. So I use those a lot as well. So those are my two favorite bars that I use the most, although I do have several others. How about you?
Not a barbell, but an adjustable bench I think is super handy. You can use that for incline presses or benches. I don't really know what the difference is between an incline bench press and an incline press, if there is one.
Probably not. It's probably the same.
Probably not. And really great for, again, arm work, like hypertrophy stuff.
Yep.
And Rep has a bench now that when it's flat, it's totally flat. Like there's no gap. I think that's actually what it's called. It's the no gap bench.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really cool. So if you don't have your bench yet, I think looking into that Rep one, that's the no gap adjustable bench would be pretty rad.
I'm jealous. I would like to have one of those. I have never had one and would like to have one. It's also pretty nice for like chest supported rows. You can put chest down for rear delt work, things like that.
Yeah.
And you can play with the angles. So for my clients that I'm trying to use an incline bench as a supplemental lift to drive their bench up, I'll go with a pretty low incline. So like a 20 to 30 degree incline. Whereas if it's a strongman competitor or somebody who's trying to drive up their overhead press, then I would go with a higher angle, something between 45 and 60. And so the nice thing about those adjustable benches is you have all of those options. And so adjustable benches are actually really, really nice. I would agree. Let's move to, I love having a dip station. It's another thing. It's just an attachment. One of the great things that's occurred over the years is that we have these incredible attachments for all of these awesome racks that the equipment companies make. And so what used to be a big footprint piece that would take, 3 feet by 3 feet to a floor space, now is just a simple thing that just attaches to a vertical on your rack, and you can do dips, which I really love. Certainly there's not a lot of other things you can do, but it doesn't take up a lot of space. And again, you can hang it directly on the wall. And so from Rogue, it's called the Matador, but I think just about all of the equipment manufacturers make those that fit their specific rack. So big fan of the dip station.
Okay. What about, does a slingshot count?
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I've been using that a whole bunch with jiu-jitsu shoulders, but that one I think is a great way to overload your bench press. And it's not like some overload bench press variations are kind of high maintenance with the equipment, like setting up a pin bench or setting up chains, setting up bands. But with a slingshot, it's like really easy to just be able to get right into it. I highly recommend you have a monolift attachment though when you start doing slingshot, or a really good
that's a really
spotter.
Great. Yep. Yeah. I thought about that when we made the notes for the show. So I love slingshots as well. I don't love a slingshot without a spotter. It can be done. Now, there are really two ways to use a slingshot. One is, as you mentioned, for BJJ shoulders, for rehabbing shoulders, where you're not really handling weight above what your bench press would be able to do, but it just protects the shoulders and the bottom of the lift. A slingshot is really a modified bench shirt, like what a bench shirt was for powerlifters. It's much less intense. You can put it on, and within the first session or two, you can get used to it. But there is a groove with it, and the more stiff ones that you get and the smaller size that you get, it's not that difficult to accidentally throw the weight on your throat. And
and it happens really fast.
It happens really fast. That's right. Yeah. So you definitely, if you're benching alone, I would suggest to have the monolift and attachments, and would always suggest to have the J-hook set up, higher than your face, higher than your throat, but below the top of your chest. That works well. The other one that I like that's similar to that is a bench block. And so again, I love these things that Westside used to do what we called board presses. I still have them in my stuffed in my closet. I have a 2-board and a 3-board and a 4-board, and they're literally like 2x6s screwed together. Like 4 2x6s screwed together is a 4-board press, right? And it's a very short range of motion. And 3 boards a little longer, 2 boards a little longer. And now there's these bench blocks, and it's just a little like compressed, like very high density foam. That's right. It's like a yoga block. And the nice thing about that is, as well as a slingshot, is you can put it in your gym bag if you're traveling, if you train at a different gym, and you can travel with it. And that bench block has a place where you lock it onto you just click it onto the barbell, and how you turn the block gives you kind of a 1-board, 2-board, 3-board sort of version. So you can reduce or increase the range of motion on those as well. I do like the bench block a little bit better without a spotter. I feel a little safer with that. There's less chance of misgrooving it and throwing it on my face than a slingshot.
Yeah.
Again, if you're using a slingshot for rehab as opposed to overloading your bench, when I use a slingshot for overloading my bench, and I've got several clients using it right now, they go ahead and bench heavy like they normally would. And then at the end of that bench press main movement, they then throw a little more weight on, and they do a couple more sets of maybe triples, 2 sets of 3, 3 sets of 3 of an overloaded bench, more than they could actually bench press. So maybe you work up to 275 on bench press, and then you put 300 on, put the slingshot on, and you knock out another couple sets. Or maybe you throw the slingshot on, do 1 set at 275 just to get the feel again of where you left the bench press off, and then go up a little bit more. And it works really well to overload the bench. So that's our overload bench pressing.
It's a good one. I used to use a rubber band because I would need to do board stuff on my own. So I'd put a rubber band around my chest and then stick the blocks in it.
Yep.
Or I would just put it underneath my shirt.
Yeah, it doesn't work nearly as well.
Way better now.
Yep, we've done that for sure. So
the next thing I would love to have is a pulley system. Again, that's something that I go to the Globo gym and use, but I would really love to have that in my own house. Again, we toured the Rep Fitness, kind of one of their headquarters recently, and they had this new rack that was this beautiful squat rack, and within it was a stacked pulley system that was
down. Yeah, it was incredible.
Freaking awesome.
High cables, low cables. Is that the Aries? Is that what it's called?
Yes, Aries. Oh my God, I'm obsessed. But yeah, you can have tons of cross work. You can do rows in any direction, pull downs, lots of ways to attach it. And you can just hammer so much accessory work with that. And there are different ways you can do it. What's that kind of, Spud. Spud is another kind of
strap.
more introduction pulley system. You can even just go to
pull downs for the poor man. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
You get a pulley system.
Yeah,
that's right.
And set that up. But I think there's just a ton of potential with a pulley system.
Yeah, there are a ton of exercises you can do. I've had I think a New York barbells one, which was a very low quality one for years after I sold Strong. And then I finally upgraded to the nice Titan stack one, which I had to wait. I think I ordered literally as COVID was hitting, and then I got it 13 months later, if you remember this. It was a little bit of a lag time. They're it's on a boat somewhere. We don't know where. And so a good lat pull down, a lat pull down is something that you can often find at a Palladian sports type place that a high school or college have gotten rid of, and they're nice and they're heavy duty and they're chunky, and you can put them in your garage or put them in your basement. And the one thing about a lat pull down machine, if you're not careful, is if it's not tall enough, you don't get, I want to call, for those of you watching the video, if I lift my arms straight over my head, I want to call that extension. It's actually shoulder flexion. I want to get full extension or full range of motion. And for those of you that are tall, it would be like doing chin-ups, but stopping a few inches short of the bottom, which we talk about a lot to our clients. I'm like, you got to go all the way down. So you do want a lat pull down, you get full range of motion. Certainly now, most of these equipment companies have these amazing attachable lat pull down, high pulley and low pulley, high cable, low cable systems. They're very expensive. Again, this is one of those, you literally, if you have $5,000 sitting around and you want to just have the most ridiculous rack ever that's got a, double stack attachment to it, high pull, low pull, it's really nice. But you can do lat pull downs on those, right? You can do any kind of tricep push down work. You can the low cable, you can do curls, you can do seated rows, so there's tons of different exercises you can do with a pulley system.
And doing a lot of glute work lately, and the kickbacks on the cable machine are awesome.
Yeah. What's the one, what did Westside call those? Dang it. Pull-throughs. They call them pull-throughs, which kind of look like it's where you attach the low cable to the rope, and then you kind of look like you're doing the dirty.
I have yet to do that
in a public space.
Yeah, because anywhere I do it would be in a public space, and I'm just
What's
not
the difference
ready.
between that and a hip thrust?
I did those this morning, actually. And
in a public gym?
Yeah, I think you just have to be really careful about eye contact.
Yeah, so
I also started doing the ins and the outs, the yeses and the nos. Although I just do the yeses.
Of course you do.
Also,
just
careful with eye contact on that one.
On the yeses, you can make all the eye contact you want on the nose. As a matter of fact, specifically do the nose and make eye contact, just to make sure that you get your point across. That's very important. Okay, we've talked about bands and chains before. I love bands and chains. We did a podcast just a few weeks ago about this. I think chains carry over probably a little bit better to raw lifting, but chains are a giant, heavy pain in the ass. And if you have a home gym, they work fine. There's chain holders now that you can get all sorts of different chain holders that either attach to the wall or attach to your rack. They're great. I've got them. You can buy chains from different places. If you live near the coast, you can buy chains pretty cheap. If you live in Missouri, you can't buy chains cheap because big, heavy chains are used for boats and anchors. And we don't have any of those here because there's no water. And so I ordered some from Titan a couple years ago. They were great. I've got the chain holders and the loaders are fine. The thing about the bands are you can overload or work the strength curve on any of the lifts, on the squat, the deadlift, the bench, theoretically the press, but it's a long way to stretch a band. The nice thing about the bands is you can throw them in your bag. So if you don't train at home, you can throw them in your bag and you can take them and you can do them at a public gym, any gym with a barbell and weights. And so that is also a really nice addition to your training. Again, I would say if you train at home, I think bands and chains are both great. If you train at another gym, probably just bands. So we get really weird. I actually did this once. I can't remember if I'm sure I've told this on the podcast as I get old and forget all the stories that I've told. But I used to put my chains in a milk crate, like an old a plastic milk crate, and I would wheel them in on a dolly to St. John's Medical Fitness Center, which is a hospital gym, and we'd load up chains and do them in the gym. This is in maybe 2001, so it's a long time ago.
So rad.
That was the gym that asked us to leave eventually. They were like, "We're gonna need you." They were super nice. They're like, "Hey, you guys are great, but we're just not set up for what you're doing," and they were right.
Back at that time, what did you use for smelling salts? There are so many things you can even just get on Amazon now. But what did you use back then?
There were smelling salts. There were not. Some guys had ammonia caps. I don't know where you'd get them because there wasn't really an Amazon. But you get smelling salts from Elite FTS. And so I have this on the list. I love ammonia. I love it. I use it almost every workout. I do.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. And I know I've told this story before, too, where I almost got fired as a teacher once for using them in the high school weight room. And then all the high school guys, and it was me and Coach Gold, and we were deadlifting like 700 pounds. And he could deadlift 765. And we would take this big hit of ammonia and it just about knocks you unconscious. And then deadlift. And then later the high school boys all told their parents called the school board. And the school board, they called us in and they were like, "You can't be sniffing steroids in the high school gym." Sniffing steroids. We're like, "It's just ammonia." And they were like, "Ammonia? Why would you sniff that?" And I was like, "Well, it's a bronchodilator." And I would start to don't do it. I was like, "Okay, I got it." So
that's awesome.
No, I do. I love ammonia. There's a lot of good companies out there that you can buy ammonia smelling salts for very cheap, relatively cheap.
Yeah.
I would say you don't really ever want to leave the cap off. First off, if you've never used an ammonia salt, like in a little jar, you want to go real slow in the beginning.
Be gentle. Be gentle.
So barely crack that seal, hold it about 14 inches from your face and waft it. And then just slowly get closer.
A cold or anything wrong with your sinuses.
Do it if you have a cold. That's what you want. That's what opens up the sinuses.
No, but if you have sore, tender sinuses and true. It's like death. Oh man. It's like a slap in the face of an adrenaline rush as well as a bronchodilator, let you get a little more oxygen in. It's awesome.
I really like the ammonia capsules, which are much less intense, are typically sold to the medical community. You used to be able to buy 100 capsules for $20 on Amazon. That's one of those things that went away with COVID. You can't find them on Amazon anymore.
Recently. Man,
yeah, it's really difficult. Yeah. And you just break these little capsules. I think they're just a little glass ampule that's wrapped in like cotton and sort of like a canvas. And so you break it, but you never feel the glass break. And then it just, so you break the glass and the glass is surrounded by a little bit of cotton. The cotton absorbs the ammonia and you can immediately smell the ammonia. And so then you just toss a little capsule away. They're what, about an inch long, maybe, and 3/8 of an inch in diameter.
That's a lot of drama.
I love those
Like,
because they're not real
sniff
intense.
it,
They
throw
won't
it across
kill
the
you.
room. Yeah.
They won't knock you over.
Far more gentle.
Whereas the actual, some of these, a lot of these, I love the
Like
brands now. It's
Rhino,
like nose
Rhino
bleach,
Force,
nose cocaine, like
nose
oof,
torque. I think that's what we would call
nose
it.
torque is actually what the original one was. It came in this hideous white bottle, and somebody had like printed it on their home printer it was just a white label with black writing. It just said nose torque, and it was just that's exactly what it was. But they're actually like legit ammonia salt. So ammonia, it's 100% ammonia. And we used to do this too in our poor college days. You could go buy a commercial ammonia product, like commercial cleaning product. And if you look on the back of that, I think like I'm going to get this wrong, but if you go to Walmart or something and you buy ammonia, it's like 15% ammonia, like what you clean your floors with. The commercial ammonia is like 30%. It's like double the ammonia. This is 100% ammonia salts.
Yowza.
Whereas the capsules are, I don't know, 50% or something like that. So you definitely kind of got to step up to it. It takes a little bit of time, but it's fun to do before your big lifts. I will tell you this. I have noticed, I don't have any empirical or data on this, but my experience is the more you use it, the more it sort of, again, I'm going to use a bro science word. It feels like it kind of burns your nervous system out a little bit, whatever that is.
Okay.
So you don't want it, if you had 3 heavy lifts to do, or like a powerlifting meet, when you lift 9 times, I would not hit ammonia 9 times at a powerlifting meet.
Just save that for like your last
I would do like
squat,
my last squat, my last bench press, and my second and third deadlift. So like maybe 4 times is what I would do. So, okay, so there you go. So that is, please, parents, don't write us. And so we're not telling your kids to go
steroids. It's not Breaking Bad
or anything else. And should be, again, this is advanced sort of lifting.
Man, you and I both have this piece of equipment. I have mine thanks to you, is the Titan leg curl and leg extension.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
I love it.
You actually sent that my way when I was having a lot of back issues and couldn't do much with a barbell. And that was rad.
Yep.
Because you can switch it between a leg extension and a leg curl. And I found like it doesn't take that much room in your gym and it's plate loaded. I think it's like $600 or something.
Jeez, that's way more than it used to be. But
I think it was
$3.99 back when I got it.
Yeah. But I do love that because that kind of accessory work is really nice. And you don't really it's a nice way to isolate that. Yeah. Without getting beat up, without doing another barbell lift, without doing lunges. And you can really go heavy. I like that one a lot.
For me, I don't know how well this carries over all our listeners, so I won't spend much time on it. I've said this before, my old beat up man hips, I can't do high volume squats. I still love to squat, I still squat heavy, but I just can't do volume. So I have to get my volume from accessory work that doesn't beat me up. So leg extensions, leg curls, glute ham raise, which I love a glute ham raise, but it's a huge footprint. Again, more and more companies are coming out with some of these kind of Nordic glute ham raises that go on the floor, that slide up and kind of semi-hang on the wall. Those are going to get better and better and more sort of storable, and a reverse hyper. Those 4 things for me are the movements that I use to get volume in for lower body. So I still squat and deadlift, not with lots of volume. I can do a little more volume on deadlift than I can on squats. And then I go out to the garage and I do that stuff. And so that works pretty well for me. So we would be remiss if we did not mention what we are most famous for here at Barbell Logic, which is wrist straps and wrist wraps, which I believe we have the #1 videos on.
Matt has gone
YouTube
viral
for both.
talking about wrist wraps.
Wrist
straps.
I forget which one it is. Yeah, it's wrist straps. We have over 1 million. And I think wrist wraps, I don't know, there's 400,000 or something views. I saw we have a question that's coming in. We're going to do a Q&A episode here coming up. The question was, can I wear wrist wraps on the deadlift? And I wanted to go, oh my God. I feel like what you meant to say was, can I wear wrist straps on the deadlift, right? And so, yes, straps are what straps your hands to the bar. Wraps are what wraps your wrist nice and tight, kind of puts your wrist in a cast for heavy pressing or bench pressing. And so those are things that really everybody should have pretty quick. As much as we talk about all these other things, that's up there with like the deadlift jack and like after you buy shoes and a belt, wrist wraps and wrist straps.
Yeah.
Say what?
I was going to say chalk, but that seems like a no-brainer.
Chalk for sure. Yeah, chalk should be a, So that's a self-evident truth of things that we should own. It's chalk. But yeah, wrist straps, when you start getting heavy on the presses and the bench presses, putting those on, again, it's similar to the belt. It's more for that feedback that says like, keep your wrist straight. Don't let your wrist bend on the heavy presses.
Yeah, they're super important.
Yep. And for straps, for high rep deadlift type movements, rack pulls, even like high rep croc rows or
RDLs,
barbell rows, RDLs, things like that, or even deadlifts 5 reps and over. I'm like, straps are totally fine. Always fine.
Oh, yeah. Or
right?
like banded deadlifts. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, something like that. So straps are fine. That
I
help.
like the leather ones a lot. Do you have a preference between leather and cloth?
I typically would say leather first, and the Dominion ones I love, and I have a set of those. I love
Same.
them. The nice thing about those Dominions, I don't know what they do, the way they tan them or something, that when you first get them, they're not as stiff as other leather straps. They don't like scratch up your hand real bad. They're relatively soft, but they get softer and softer as you use them and get better as you use them. So they get that kind of patina on them and they get kind of soft and they get worn almost exactly to your wrist shape. I still have a set from Elite FTS that I think is the ones I use in that video. There's some sort of weird combination of like canvas and rubber. It's like rubber.
Like 2 layers.
Yeah, it's like rubber stitching inside canvas. Now, they're way too long. And again, you can watch the video. I just want to wrap them around the bar one time. I don't want to wrap them around the bar 8 times. There's no reason to do that. But wrist wraps and wrist straps are both things that are very valuable for almost all clients to have. Once you're anywhere near the end of novice training, you should probably have that, certainly going into intermediate.
Yeah.
Let's talk clothes a little bit. Can we talk clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, first off, I know you've always made a big point that, especially as over the last, almost decade that we're now working together, that you have learned to not wear the same thing that you work in as what you train in. And so you have specific training clothes that are your training clothes, are not your work clothes.
Yoga pants, and then I have my workout yoga pants.
That's right. So I guess my question for you first off is, for your training clothes, how much of those are about, I think I know the answer to this, but I'll let you speak to it. How much of those are about the way it makes you feel versus the way they help you perform?
Yeah, that's more about like feel, keeping things in the right place, not being distracting. I do have a couple pairs of pants that are so tight that they probably are a little bit assistive, but they're so uncomfortable I don't wear them.
Right.
But yeah, those are more like making sure, when you are bending over and standing back up again, like your pants aren't falling down the whole time. Or
but
like
there's
your
also for you, there's a fashion sense to this, or style sense, one of the two, where like you want to look good in your workout clothes. Yeah. That's really what I mean. Like how it makes you feel, not where for me, I think most of my choices, well, yes, also I'm not wearing, 13-inch inseam board shorts when I train because I don't own any of those. I don't own any of those. Yeah. But I do wear a lot of, I do wear a lot of supportive gear that probably help with performance. And I don't literally mean it helps add weight to the bar. As a matter of fact, we've got a video coming out. Probably by the time this podcast comes out, I did a review on all the knee sleeves. And cool. I love, and by the way, knee sleeves, I would say is one of those things you should have. That would be before this.
Those are good ones too.
Before this podcast, like you should have that before you get to more of these advanced things. I love the Ray-Ban knee sleeves. Don't have a relationship with them. The blue ones, 7mm. I've used them for years. I'm on my second pair in like 25 years of training. Like the first one lasted like 20 years.
That's amazing.
And so I love those. I don't think they add any weight to the bar. I don't think I squat anymore with those. I also wear Ray-Ban compression shorts, and they're pretty thin. I think they're like 3mm. So what I do is I put on Under Armour compression. I don't know what you call them. They're kind of like boxer briefs, but they're long.
Okay.
What would you call those?
Compression briefs?
Something. I don't know. But
yeah.
Same kind of material as normal like boxer briefs. Slightly longer than, they don't go down to my knee, but they go kind of to the bottom of my quad. And then I pull the Ray-Ban shorts on over those. And the reason I put those on is because the Ray-Ban shorts, because they're neoprene, they're kind of sticky. And so I want them to slide up the nylon undershorts. Mm-hmm. And then I put on my normal shorts, like my training shorts, Oliver's or Lulu or whatever. And so I wear those. I love an A7 shirt to squat or bench in, that rubber-backed shirt, because I think it helps hold the bar in place or stick you to the bench. And so I love all of those things. I actually we never talked about this. I'm a big respecter of the socks, Nikki. Have we ever talked about this? Yeah, people in your state, they don't respect the stock. They'll just pull 2 socks. All my friends from California that live in Missouri will pull 2 socks out of the drawer, unmatching, and put them on. And I'm like, you were all of my socks have an R and an L sewn into the sock. No, I want a right sock and a left sock. And
we wear flip-flops here all the time.
That's true. I don't even own a pair of sandals. I don't believe in sandals. I don't even believe they exist. And so I really do actually think about the socks that I wear for training. Yeah.
That's
And like,
cool.
if I'm going to deadlift barefooted, what socks am I going to wear? Is it?
Wow.
I know.
I like that.
I know.
Okay.
A total
New
prima
level of
donna, I
respect.
guess. What are you going to do?
What about, I think we need to mention, like, this was on our list of prep, like the safety squat bar and then like a Cadillac bar. Where do you think that fits in the safety squat bar?
I really like a safety squat bar. I really like any of those bars. Is the Cadillac bar, is that the Kabuki bar that's like, what is the Cadillac bar?
Yeah, it's like a football bar, but
with the angle.
It's curved.
With the rounded.
You can get
curved.
more range of motion.
That's right. I've actually never
cool.
benched on one of those. They look really cool.
I've
got a football bar.
Yeah.
I love a football bar for people who have shoulder pain. Rachel mostly presses and benches with a football bar at this point. Again, I think about this a lot. I've said this a lot to clients. When you have to make a modification to one of the main lifts, but you get the same range of motion and basically the same weight, right? So for example, like me box squatting, I can't really full squat without the box. My hips can't handle it. How much less effective is a 400 or 405 for a triple or 405 for 5 box squat as opposed to a 405 squat without the box? Like, I don't think it's that big of a difference.
Well, I think if you did a 405 squat without the box, you wouldn't be able to squat again for like, I don't know, months.
It would hurt my hips. That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Totally squat with a box to not perfect depth. Yeah.
Right. And so for Rachel, she's benching right now, not super heavy. She's benching like 165 for sets of 5, but she's doing it on the football bar instead of a straight bar. So then the question is like, is there, I don't know if it's harder or not. I just don't think it's like that much less effective. And so I would argue the same thing with something like a safety squat bar. If you've got really bad shoulders, you're an older guy, you've got a labrum tear that you probably need to get repaired, but you're just like, my shoulders all beat up. And you squat with a safety squat bar instead of a regular bar, which sort of elongates your torso. How much less effective is that than a straight bar squat? I'd argue like not very much. I mean, if anything, we're talking about like 5%. And so to be able
really
to do
not
it,
worth getting in a tizzy over.
That's exactly right. I think we get in tizzies over this stuff. So yeah, some of these bars, in the same way that we can use the slingshot to protect the shoulders when the shoulders are injured, or we can use the slingshot to overload the bench press, we can use these bars the same way. We can use these bars in a way that allow us to get through a full range of motion on the movement because we're old, beat up, have injuries, whatever, and they allow us to do it pain-free, which I think is really important. And there's also times that big-time competitive lifters, West Side type or conjugate type lifters, are going to use those to really overload the system. They're going to do a safety squat bar crazy heavy, or a cambered bar crazy heavy, or kabuki bar crazy heavy. And I think that's perfectly fine too. And so you just have to know the place, right? I was thinking about this with a trap bar the other day, because trap bars are all the rage right now, these kind of walk through trap bars. And I have, over time, I've just sort of like hated the trap bar. And so, because it is a lot easier and it's a shorter range of motion. My bigger deal is the shorter range of motion, right? But also most of those walk-through trap bars have a normal range of motion. Then you can flip it over and go, and it's got a handle that's 3 or 4 inches higher. I think as a supplemental movement that's a little less stressful, the same way that I'm using a leg extension, leg curl, reverse hyper, glute ham raise. If you want to use a trap bar as a secondary deadlift movement, I think it's fine. Oh God, it's going to blow back on me. This is like heresy.
Dude, when I posted my trap bar deadlifts on Instagram, every single post was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing the trap bar
I've lost so much respect for you." That's right.
I'm just like, goodbye. I don't care.
I know, right? So yeah, any of those are fine. I think first off, purchasing a bar to allow you to move through a full range of motion without pain should be a very high priority. Purchasing a bar because you just love to accumulate barbells and want to do cool shit should be a much lower priority. By the way, I have a client. You know who you are.
My client.
You know who you are. This guy is the biggest gear whore I have ever seen. And he might work
I think me and Andrew could have like a gear whore throwdown.
This guy might work for a top 10 company in the world. He might work for the most valuable company in the world. I won't say what it is. And I was telling him, you know how when you pull up the PR list on your clients on the app, there's like 9 exercises.
All
he
the
has
variations.
80 exercises. I'm like, dude, you have more. He's actually really hard to program for accessory movements, because he's like, Coach, could we rotate in these 9 exercises this week?
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's fine. So actually, he's got a very clean, very neat gym. I stole a lot of stuff from him. We did an organizational video that I don't think has come out yet on on YouTube
That's
at how I
cool.
organize my gym. And I have a couple clients that I looked at their videos. I was like, man, I love what they do. I love what they do. I did this several weeks ahead of time. Then I ordered some stuff based on what they have.
Nice.
And so certainly I'm giving him a hard time. He's got a bunch of great equipment. He's also extremely coachable, but he just loves to have all the stuff. The guy really probably shouldn't quit his job at the #1 company in the entire world and be a gym owner. But if it goes bad, this guy's already set. He could tomorrow open a full-blown commercial gym tomorrow with what he has. The room he's lifting in, it's probably like 12 by 16. It's not very big.
Oh, it's not even that huge. Wow.
Oh no, it's small.
Wow,
he has
cool.
maximized space. So he has all this kind of stuff.
We can't see that video.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
We have magnetic kitchen timers. How much do you use timers for either your clients or yourself when you train?
I'll use it for my clients more often, but yeah, I usually just look at my watch.
Yeah, me
for
too.
myself. Yeah, or also like the stopwatch on my phone.
I use a lot, and I think we're going to do an episode coming up on wearables. I have started to utilize much more with my Apple Watch rest periods based on my heart rate than the actual rest period. I know what my heart rate needs to be. When my heart rate gets down into the 120s, which is probably high for you, but like low for me, like then I can go again. If I do like a heavy set of squats, my heart rate's going to be like 155. And when it gets down to about I say in the 120s, when it hits 120 or 115, somewhere in there, then I know I'm ready for the next set.
That's cool.
And so rather than actually timing my rest periods, and I mean, you've trained with me, I move pretty fast these days. I go pretty quick. So I tend to do that. I do like magnetic kitchen timers. I use those actually all the time for Pomodoros for working. I've bought one all from every member of my family to force them to do Pomodoros. So I use them more often for that. I used them all the time when I was a personal trainer in person. I didn't use the magnetic kitchen timer. We had the big CrossFit wall timer, which I have in my gym here at home as well. And I would just set it to buzz every 2 minutes. And what I would do is every 2 minutes, they would have to do a set. And then when we got to the heavy work sets, like real heavy work sets, they could go every other one. So every 4 minutes.
That's cool.
So it keeps them. And that's important because if somebody's paying for like an hour of time, it's easy to accidentally start telling a story, tell a story for 9 minutes. And then you're like, we didn't do any work for 9 minutes. Not that I would do that.
Yeah,
it's mostly their problem. It wasn't a me problem. So, okay. Anything else? Monolift. I think this was pretty good.
Maybe a space heater.
Space heater. A mini split air conditioning unit. If you're in your seriously, if you take this serious enough and you're in your garage and you don't live like in San Diego where it's just nice all the time, or like where you live in Orange County, which is basically nice all the time. If you live in the Midwest where it is 105 in the summer and 5 degrees in the wintertime, investing in some amount of climate control makes a huge difference in how nice it is. I remember when Scott and Charity ended up putting in an air conditioner and heater into their home gym. And I was like, this is so much better out here in the garage. And so it really is. And I would say if you are a coach and you're training people out of your home or out of your garage, I think it's your responsibility to do that. I think if people are paying you multiple $100s a month, then you should do everything you can to climate control that for them. They're paying enough money to deserve some air conditioning and heat, and you can take it as a business expense. And so you don't have, right? So it's a tax write-off for you. So those are all pretty good moves. So there you go. You got all kinds of fun stuff that you can buy for Christmas and New Year's. You can ask for, you can buy your friends and family. Buy it for a friend that doesn't lift, and then they'll give it to you.
A rep gift card.
say that again. Yeah. So,
if you wanted to send me anything, you could send me a rep
needs
fitness gift card.
$5,000 in rep fitness gift cards,
so
white. She can get that sweet rack. So yeah, that's a good place to start. By the way, there are so many Black Friday deals going on. I will throw a bone to our good buddy Coop at Garage Gym Reviews. They do a great job at keeping track of all of the best deals. So if you're not following Garage Gym Reviews, again, no relationship with them. I'm not making money off this. Coop lives in my town. He's a great dude. It's a great company. It's like the Consumer Reports of fitness equipment. He does a great job of actually also reviewing all these things. He takes no money from any of these companies outside of basic affiliate fees. If he loves it, he posts it and then he'll make affiliate fees. But he doesn't get paid to review ever. And so that's a great place to go. And you can kind of see what his reviews are and then see what the Black Friday deals are coming up around Thanksgiving and the holidays between now and New Year's. It's a good place to go. Hey, this is a perfect time of year to outfit your gym just a little bit better. And we didn't even get into decor. Again, I've got this great video that's coming out about how I organize my gym. If you haven't looked at Nikki's gym on her, what is it? At Nikki, what's your Instagram?
Nikki in the gym with periods between each word.
You've got such a great setup that's so you.
Thanks.
With like the decals and the lights and the colors and the
fake
backdrops
grass on the wall.
And it's not that expensive to do that stuff. It's crazy, right? A good decal, it's like $50, $70. Depends on how big the decal is. But you can really make it your own, and then also makes it a great atmosphere.
We have our own decals now, I think. Barbell
We do have our own decals. We do have Barbell. That's a great point. I got that on my platform, so you can get Barbell Logic decal. They're pretty cheap. I don't remember where they are, but they're at the Barbell Logic store at the Barbell Logic website. You can get those and put it on either on your platform, or they'll go on your wall really nice as well. It's a nice decal. It'll suck right against the wall, and those are super, super nice. So there you go. There's our guide to advanced equipment for this Christmas holiday season. Hope you loved it. Yeah, I wish we had. We should have done Amazon links for all of these. Get some kickbacks, but we get no kickbacks. So enjoy it. Whatever you buy, tell us if you like it. If there are other things that we've missed, reach out and tell us about it, and we'll talk about them in a future show. Thanks for listening to the Barbell Logic podcast. We got value out of this. We would always love a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Again, we're on YouTube. Almost all of these are on YouTube as well. We certainly don't get as many people that watch us. You would think they would, because they would want to see you. I understand why they don't want to see me.
See, like the sun bouncing off your head.
That's right. I know. It's actually really nice.
Beard
it's sunny
style.
Look how nice it looks outside. It's 31 out there right now.
Woo!
So it looks nice. It's not nice. So you guys, happy holidays to all. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving and great Christmas, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.